This video takes you through how to use eHive, the collections management system used by the Museum of East Anglian Life. It is to be viewed alongside the example card which you have been provided with. During this video, we will practice making a record for this example card. Written notes on how to use eHive are also available. Key principles of eHive. There are one or two golden rules for using eHive. The most important thing is that all the information from the card should be transferred onto eHive. This is much more important than making sure everything goes in exactly the right field. If you are working with hard copies of the cards, you can highlight the information on the card as you add it to eHive. This makes it easy to spot if you have missed anything. The example card we're working with in this video has all the information which might occur on a record card. Most real record cards will be missing at least some information. If information is missing, leave the relevant fields blank. Opening up eHive. To find eHive, just Google eHive. Then select the first result which comes up. Select Sign in the top right of the screen and sign in using the login details which you will be provided with. Searching for an existing eHive record. Several of our record cards already have records on eHive. The first thing to do when working with a new card is to search eHive to see whether there is already an existing record for that card. Once eHive is open, select Search at the top of the screen and then select My Objects. In the search box, you will need to search the object number of your record card. This number appears on the front of the card under Identity Number. To search a term on eHive, you need to enclose it in quotes. The object number of the example card is STMEA:1987-25.1. Many object numbers on the cards will have the STMEA: prefix missing. If this prefix is missing, you need to add it in before searching the object number. Close your quotes and press Search. You are now looking at the results of your search. You will see that a record already exists for the object number you have searched. When this is the case, select the object record and then select Edit Record on the right-hand side of the screen. This opens up the eHive form which is used to input data into eHive. You then check the eHive record against the card and ensure all the information on the record is complete and correct, making any changes required. You have just seen that an eHive record already exists for the object on the example card. However, for the purposes of this training video, we will create a new object record for this object. To create a new record, select Create at the top of the screen and then select History. This opens up a blank eHive form. You will see that there are several boxes on the eHive form. For simplicity, we use only a few of these, and this video will take you through which fields we use and which information sits in each of them. Object number. The first field we use is object number. Into this field, you enter the object's identity number, which you have just used in the search function. Enter it here without the quotes, as the quotes are only required for the search function. Object numbers can take many forms. Sometimes they begin with a whole year, as in this case. Sometimes it is only the second part of a year. Sometimes it will be the letter A or the letter B followed by numbers. Please record the object number exactly as it appears. The only reason you would need to change an object number is if the STMEA: prefix has been missed off, in which case you will need to add it. Accession date. The next field we use is accession date. This is the date the object was given to the museum. You can find it on the reverse side of your card in the section for acquisition. Follow the acquisition box along and you will see a date on the far right. That date is the accession date. We always record dates in the following format: 08.01.1986. Name or title. The name or title field is simply where you record what the object is called. You can find this information in the identification section on the front of your card. You will see this section offers both a simple name and a full name. The full name for this object is a cooper's apron, a cooper being someone who makes barrels. You would generally input the full name into the name/title field unless you feel it is too complicated or technical to be understood by a member of the public, in which case you would use the simple name. If you choose to input the simple name rather than the full name, you must ensure you enter the full name in the brief description section, which will come a little later. Classification. The next field we use is classification. This is the theme of the object under which it is filed in the current system. You can find this information in the top left-hand corner of the front side of the card under the heading Class. The classification for this object is crafts-wood-casks. This information needs to be entered without spaces. This field is the first of the term pick list boxes, which I will explain how to use now. Some fields on this form are term pick list boxes. This means the system already knows a certain number of words. In order to use these fields, start typing the term you want, in this case crafts-wood-casks, into the box, and see if the term you want appears in the drop-down list. If it appears in the drop-down list, as this one does, simply select it from the list. Term pick lists do not allow you to simply type the information you want into the box. If your term does not appear in the drop-down list, we will need to teach the word to the system. I will show you how to do this later on, as you will need to teach the system your own name. Brief description. Brief description is where we record information about the object's appearance and its history. Bear in mind, there are specific sections for the object's measurements, the materials it's made from, and any inscriptions or writing on the object, so these do not need to be recorded in brief description. Some of the information you need will be in the brief description section of the card, which falls within the large description box on the front of the card. Here, this reads, "Long apron with leather straps and buckles." Information which needs to be recorded in brief description may appear elsewhere on the card as well. Further down the description box, you will see the information about the colour of the object is recorded. It says apron green, buckles silver. This needs to be included in brief description. On the back of the card, in the notes section, under use details, it is recorded that this is a cooper's apron used by Colin Watson when making barrels for Green King. This also needs to be included in brief description. It's up to you whether you choose to merge these pieces of information into one full sentence or keep them as separate points. Throughout the eHive form, the important thing is that a member of the public would find the information clear and easy to use. Other than that, it's entirely up to you how you format it. Public description. The reason we use the fields for both brief description and public description is that not all fields on eHive will be visible to the public when the online catalogue is published. Brief description will only ever be visible to the museum's team. For this reason, we also need to record a public description. To complete the public description field, you simply need to copy and paste the information you have entered into brief description across to public description. The only reason you might change this information is to do with data protection. These records contain personal details such as names and addresses. Museums come under an exemption in data collection rules, which means we can share this information if it is relevant to the object's history. If you think any details, including names and addresses, add to an object's story and the understanding of its history, please do include these in the public description. Colin Watson's details, therefore, can be included in this example. If a person used or made an object, their details will always be relevant and so can be included. The details of donors who neither made nor used an object, however, might be left out of public description as they are not a meaningful part of the object's story. Date made. This is simply the date the object was made. This information can be found in the production section of the card, which is on its reverse side. If you follow the production box along to the right, you will see a date, 1960s. This is the date the object was produced, and this is what you enter into this field. Date made is one of the pieces of information which is most frequently missing from object cards. It is also not to be confused with the date or period during which the object was being used. Production notes. Production notes is where you record the rest of the information relating to the making of the object. This includes who made the object, what their role was in making the object, and where it was made. In this case, you can see the object was manufactured by Hawkins & Co. in Alston, Cumbria, and that is what you would record in this field. Some objects will have more than one maker. For example, the wheels of a bike are usually made by a different company from the frame. Where this is the case, please record the information of all the relevant makers in this field. Location history. Location history information relates to where in the museum the object is being stored or has been stored in the past. The location history field is where you record the location history code. This can be found in the bottom left corner on the front of your card. The location history code here is SOSC27. The code does not include the date, 12th February 2015, which is recorded next to the code. Location history is a term pick list field. You therefore need to begin entering the location code into the box and select it from the drop-down list. If the storage location code you are entering does not appear in the drop-down list, you will need to teach the term to the system. Again, we will cover how to do this later in the video. When you enter a storage location code, a dialog box will appear asking if you wish to update the current location. Please select No. There is often more than one storage location and associated date on a card. This means the object has been moved. Please record all location codes and dates. Press Add Another Set to give yourself an extra set of the relevant boxes to do this. Location history date. This is where you record the date which appears next to the storage location code. In this case, this date is 12.02.2015. Item count. This field is simple. Simply record how many objects are included in the record you are creating. In this case, it's just one. This information can be found in the top right-hand corner of the card on the front side. Medium and materials. This field is where you record what the object is made from. This information can be found about halfway down the description box on the front of the card. Here the information recorded is apron, canvas, buckles, metal, straps, leather. Inscription and marks. This field is where you record information about any inscriptions or writing which appear on the object. This could be an official inscription, an engraving, an embroidery, a stamp or a label, but it also includes any informal writing on the object, for example, a note written in pen. You need to record how the mark is made, examples embroidery, engraving, where on the object the mark is made, and what the mark says. In this case, the inscription is embroidered in the centre of the chest and it says Hawkins & Co. Fabric Goods. Measurements. This is where you record the object's measurements. In this case, the width and the length are recorded in centimetres. Sometimes the card will display measurements in feet and inches. Where this is the case, please write the words feet and inches in full rather than using the abbreviations. Sometimes the card records only the first letter of the dimension measured, for example W and L instead of width and length. This can sometimes be ambiguous, for example the letter D could stand for depth or diameter. If you are unsure what the letter stands for, please leave it as just the letter. Please do not convert measurements given in feet and inches into centimetres or millimetres. Similarly, where new measurements in centimetres or millimetres have been written alongside original measurements in feet and inches, please do not record these converted measurements as they are likely to be incorrect. Significance. There is a separate field for recording that you feel an object should become a star object. This box is for if the card tells you that the object is special. It may say it is the last example, or the oldest example, or the best example of its kind. If this is the case, please record the word highlight, which is the search term for all the star objects, and a few words about why the card says the object is special. Related objects. In the association section on the front of the card, you will see information recorded under related items. These objects are objects which are in some way related to the main object recorded on the card. Therefore, if people are interested in the main object on the card, they may also wish to see these objects. Please record the object number or object numbers under related items in the related objects box. If there is more than one related item, you will need to press add another set to duplicate your boxes. If the STMEA prefix has been missed off the object numbers here, please add them in. Some record cards will have dozens of objects recorded under related items. If there are several objects recorded under related items, or if the object numbers of those related items are unclear or seem to run into one another, you can record this information instead in related object notes. This does not require you to use the term pick list and therefore may be quicker and easier. Related object notes. This is where you record the rest of the information in the association section, which tells you how the related items are linked to the main item on the card. In this case, you would record that both items were used by Mr. C. Watson at Green King & Sons, Bury St Edmunds, Suffolk in the 1960s. Please note the unusual formatting of the address under place. And signs have been used instead of commas. This is common on these cards, and we would ask you to replace the and signs with commas. Other name. If the card tells you that this object has an alternative name or a local name, this is where you record that information. Other number. This field is perhaps best completed when you have recorded all the other information on the card. If you have used all the other numbers which appear on the card, including identity number and storage location, but find you have a number left over at the end, please enter this number into the other number field. Please don't worry about what this number means, it could be one of several things. You do not need to add the STMEA : prefix in front of this number. General notes. Several pieces of information are recorded in General Notes. General Notes is a useful field to record any information that you cannot find another place for or are in some way unsure of. General notes will never be visible to the public, so it's entirely safe to record any information in this box. There is some information which should be recorded in general notes. This includes information about the object's condition and completeness. Completeness information can be found in the description box on the front of the card. You will see here that it is recorded as complete. Looking to the right of the completeness information, you will see information about condition and function. This also needs to be recorded in the general notes box. This information is formatted a little oddly on the cards. You will see that condition is recorded above fair. What this is trying to tell you is that the condition of the object is fair in this case. Functional is recorded above the word yes. This means that yes, the object is functional. You would therefore record the condition and function information of this object as condition fair, functional. Information of conservation carried out on the object is also recorded in general notes. On the back of the card, in the section for acquisition, you will see a small box entitled Conservation Date. Conservation information may be recorded here. It may also appear written anywhere else on the card. In this case, there is no information about conservation on the example card, so there is nothing to record for this example. General notes is also where we record information about who gave us the object and under what terms. This is recorded in the acquisition section on the back of the card. In this case, you can see the object was given to us as a loan as opposed to a gift by Mr. C. Watson of 25 Kings Hill, Ollerton, Nottinghamshire, NG8 5BR. This donor information is recorded in general notes. As general notes is not visible to the public, all address and name details of all donors can be included in general notes. The use details section of the card, under notes, has been interpreted in two different ways by the people who've written the cards. We have already used the information under use details in this example in the brief description. Some people who've written the cards have interpreted the information under use details as being about the history of the object and how it was used during its life. When this is the case, the information sits in brief description. Other people writing the cards have interpreted it as being about how the museum has used the object. This might mean that use details will contain notes on exhibitions the object has appeared in, or occasions on which it has been sent out on loan to other museums or organisations. If use details has been interpreted as being about how the museum has used the object, please record this information under general notes. General notes is also where you record if you think the object on the card should become one of our star objects. If anything about the object captures your attention or your interest, or you think there might be a good story behind the object, please record the word highlight, followed by a few words about why the object has captured your attention. Catalogued date and cataloguer. The final two fields of the eHive form to complete are catalogued date and cataloguer. This is where information is recorded about previous people to have recorded the card. This information can be found in the centre bottom on the front of the card. Here you will see the initials WD. This is another person who has recorded the object, probably the person who wrote the card. Please enter these initials with or without dots into the cataloguer box. The date next to these initials, 05.02.1988, should be entered into catalogued date. You will also need to add yourself as a cataloguer. To do this, duplicate the boxes for cataloguer and catalogued date by clicking Add Another Set. Enter today's date in the catalogued date field. You will need to teach eHive your own name under the field for cataloguer. To teach eHive a new word in a term pick list, select Term Pick List to the right of the box. In the pop-up, select Add New Term in the top left, enter your full name, and press OK. Then press Use Selected Term in the bottom left of the pop-up. When you are working with an existing record, you still need to add yourself as a cataloguer at the end of the form. This is a record to us that somebody has checked or edited this record. Please add yourself as a cataloguer, whether you make changes to an existing record or whether you check an existing record but make no changes. Saving your eHive record. Your eHive record is now complete. To save it, press the Save icon. Be careful not to select Save Drafts. A pop-up will appear asking you if you would like to publish this record to eHive. Please ensure this box is not ticked. Then press OK. Your record will then be saved and you will be able to view it. As you work with the cards, you will find some variations between them, which I will explain here. The first is cards which take another format from the style of card we've looked at in the example. There are two styles of record cards at the Museum of East Anglian Life. The example card we've looked at in this video is the newer style of card. Older cards look like this one. Both styles of card contain the same information, it's just laid out differently. For example, the date acquired shown on this card is the accession date. The group is the classification. Period, that's the time period during which the object was used. Place of origin is donor information, not to be confused with production information. And number is the object number. You will see here that the STMEA colon prefix is missing. These older cards tend to be less detailed than the newer cards, but split the information up less clearly into sections. This means that, when working with an older card, you will need to read through it and decide which information should sit in each eHive field. Cards with multiple objects. Some cards record the details of more than one object. Here is an example. You can tell a card holds details for more than one object by the object number, which will end in A to B, 1 to 2, A and B, 1 and 2, 1 to 10, A to D, or similar. When this happens, you have a choice. You can either create one eHive record for all the objects on the card, or one eHive record for each object on the card. It is up to your judgment what will be clearest and easiest to use. However, as a rule, you would split up objects which have different information recorded for each. Here, for example, different measurements and designs are recorded for each knife, so you'd make a separate record for each knife. If, however, the card simply recorded 3 knives with no distinguishing features, you would make one eHive record for all 3 knives. If you create separate records for the objects on a card, take care to alter the object number for each item appropriately, noting just A, B or C at the end rather than A to C as is recorded on the card. Please add the other items on the card as related objects, noting that they previously shared a card and other information which the objects share.